All right. So, hey, hi, hello, everyone. My name is Naishir Alim Jules, and I am the Deputy Director of the USAID Donald N. Payne International Development Fellowship Program administered by Howard University. I'd like to first begin by thanking you all for joining us this evening for our Payne Fellowship overview session. We hope you all find the presentation both informative as you look to complete your application for the 2025 fellowship cycle. With that, we're going to go ahead and begin. So, to begin, the Donald M. Payne International Development Fellowship Program is sponsored by the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, which is the United States agency that leads international development and humanitarian assistance efforts to partner countries. USAID's works together with individuals, communities, and countries around the world to improve everyday lives. Their efforts provide humanitarian assistance, reduce poverty, strengthen democratic governance, and advance economic opportunities, as well as help achieve progress beyond their programs. Now that you've heard a little about the agency, let's discuss the Payne Fellowship itself. So, what exactly is the Payne Fellowship Program exactly? So, the Donald M. Payne International Development Graduate Fellowship Program is a fellowship that is administered at Howard University under a cooperative agreement with the United States Agency for International Development, USAID. Payne Fellowship purpose is to recruit and select bright minds for a career in USAID's Foreign Service. Foreign Service officers apply their technical knowledge, program design, management, and evaluation expertise to promote and demonstrate democratic values abroad, advance a free, peaceful, and prosperous world. The Foreign Service officers work with a diverse range of colleagues in environments that can be both unfamiliar and challenging. So please know that the Payne Fellowship, we seek individuals from all education backgrounds and we prepare them for career in USAID's Foreign Service. This slide here shows the USAID Foreign Service career backstops. For those of you who may be listening via phone, USAID backstops include BSO2, a program officer, O3 executive officer, BSO3 executive officers, BSO4 financial management officers, BS10 agricultural officers, a BS11, which is backstop 11, economists, BS21 private enterprise officers, BS93 contracting officers, BS25 engineering officers, BS40 environmental and natural resource officers, BS50, Population Health and Nutrition Officers, BS60, Education Officers, BS70, Humanitarian Assistance Officers, and then BS76, Crisis Stabilization and Governance Officers. Those awarded the Payne Fellowship select an intended career backstop upon entry into the fellowship program. Please be sure to visit www.paynefellows.org if you have not done so already to learn more about the USAID career backstops prior to submitting your application to the Payne Fellowship Program. Again, I will be sharing a document to all of the registered attendees for this session via email for those who couldn't get it in the chat via the webinar feature this evening. And it has the information regarding the details, the competencies, the skill sets that are required or expected for one who is considering, let's say, BSO2 program officer, or for those who may be considering becoming agricultural officers within USAID's Foreign Service. So the backstop resource that I will be sharing fleshes out and provides additional details regarding the career backstop, the career track backstops for USAID's Foreign Service, and allows you to see some of the competencies or expected skill sets that are required for an individual trying to declare said backstop there. Please also note that the fellowship experience culminates with employment in USAID's Foreign Service. So again, all of our Payne Fellows at the end of their graduate fellowship experience. So that's the graduate school, the professional development, the internships. They onboard directly with USAID, so the U.S. Agency for International Development, and begin their careers as foreign service officers. So again, the declaration at the beginning of the program, it is very important that you have some inkling or some understanding of the different career backstops, because again, you will have to specify a career backstop once you, if you're awarded the fellowship, and that your academic programs should be aligning with the competencies of the career backstop that you're choosing, right? So USAID backstop coordinators do assist our staff with confirming the academic programs of Payne Fellows. They must be confirmed by the USAID backstop coordinators to make sure that the academic program aligns with skill sets, competencies, expectations, if you will, of the career track that you will be entering into once you begin your career with USAID's Foreign Service. So what's great about all of this, it's like, oh man, it's daunting. Like, I'm declaring a career choice, et cetera, right? But what's great about this is that if you get the fellowship, you get the job. So although it is a lot to take up front, right? If you do have some interest, again, we do have some very knowledgeable staff, and then also our colleagues at USAID through our development diplomats in residence. We have one for the East Coast and one for the West Coast, who are senior foreign service officers and would be happy to speak to any Payne prospective applicants on the differences in the career backstops and what does the work within the agency looks like once they begin that piece there. So again, just remember, if you get the fellowship, you get the job. Now, for the moment you all have been waiting for. The Payne program incentives. So the Payne Fellowship, we will award up to 30 fellowships valued at around $104,000 to pay for tuition, mandatory fees, living expenses, and summer internships over 2 years for the 2025 fellowship. The award breakdown works out to be $24,000 per year for tuition and mandatory fees. Please note that some graduate programs do provide additional supplemental financial assistance to Payne Fellows. So 9 times out of 10, if you go to one of the graduate program partners, you may receive additional funding there, so can help you with zero loan liability, right, for graduate school, in addition to what we provide. The program also provides an $18,000 per year living stipend, and then up to $10,000 per year towards summer internships. And that includes, everyone, your housing and round trip transportation. And then out of that, the remainder will be given via a personal stipend for you to make sure that you have some cash in your pocket during your experiences. Our fellows do 2 internships, the first being a 9-week internship on Capitol Hill. That is the first summer before you enter graduate school. The second internship is a 10-week overseas internship in between your first and second year of graduate school. Prior to beginning the 9-week congressional internship, our fellows do have a 1-week orientation into the fellowship program on Howard University's campus and at USAID's headquarters. We go up there during that week as well. And then they'll begin the 9-week congressional internship experience and professional development during the evenings. Afterwards, they immediately begin their first year of graduate school. So if you're still on the call, that essentially means that you're either very interested, which you should be, in the career with USAID, or the program incentive excites you enough. And if that is indeed the case, you must know that for the Payne Fellowship program, we do require that all applicants have U.S. citizenship by the application deadline, which is October 24th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You must also possess a cumulative GPA on a 4.0 scale of 3.2, so 3.2 cumulative GPA on a 4.0 scale. And then you must also be planning to enroll in graduate school, um, a 2-year graduate program for fall 2025, as we are recruiting for the 2025 cohort. And it must be your program should be in an area of relevance to USAID's foreign service. And I'll get to that in a minute. Um, Also, applicants should know that we do require 2 letters of recommendation, with 1 letter from a former professor or faculty member and the other from a community leader. Your official transcripts from all colleges and universities attended are also requested. It's typically a rule of thumb, if you've taken 3 or more or 6 or more credit hours at the institution, that you should be providing the transcript. For those of you who might have studied abroad, that includes that semester as well. If the letter grades are not shown on your home institution's transcript, okay? You make that very clear. If you've studied abroad and the letter grades are not shown during the semester that you've studied abroad on the home institution's transcripts, please be sure to get your transcript from the abroad institution, and it must be translated in English. Our staff does not translate transcripts or documents from their native language to English. Those items must already be officially translated in English there. So please be aware of that. Um, Okay. Also, we require a personal statement in 600 words or less, detailing your reasons for applying, your interest in foreign affairs, international development, and your commitment to pursue a career in the USAID's Foreign Service. Your personal statement is that area that you really want to make sure that you spend some time developing, that you're speaking to your personal story, right? Your interests, right? And what led you to apply, but mainly, again, your interest in the career of a foreign service officer, specifically within USAID's foreign service, and your interest in development or foreign affairs relations, etc. The fellowship also requires a statement of financial need in 400 words or less that indicates the applicant's need for financial assistance to continue graduate studies, including an explanation of the financial assistance received during undergraduate studies, your overall and education-related debt, and any ability to or plans to pay for graduate school independently of the fellowship program. Please note, for those of you, I'm sure that you've already noticed, in the financial section of the application, we do require the FAFSA student aid report. For those of you who might have already been current students and had it from the most recent academic year, the submission of the student aid report is fine. For those of you who are removed from school, alumni, et cetera, or professionals already several years out from their undergraduate experience, the document that you will be uploading, as FAFSA has gotten rid of the student aid report, is the FAFSA financial aid summary. That will be the piece that you will need to upload to the application, and making sure that you're also answering the questions as they're expressed in the financial section there. And what's also important is that the statement of financial need does what can I say? It conveys essentially what the numbers can't tell or don't show. Okay. I'm sorry, give me 1 second here. Sorry about that, everyone. Okay, yes. So, and again, what's important about the statement of financial need is making sure, again, that it conveys what the numbers don't show. Okay. Be sure to visit apply.paynefellows.org to begin the application. And again, I cannot stress enough that the application deadline is October 24th, 2024, 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that works out to be around 9:59 p.m. Mountain and 8:59 p.m. Pacific there. Okay. The timeline for the 2025 selections is as follow. The application opens July 19th, 2024. The application deadline is October 24th, 2024 at 9:59 p.m. Mountain Time. Again, that'll be 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 8:59 p.m. Pacific Standard Time there. Uh, the selection of finalists, meaning the 60 finalists, which we will be selecting and inviting to interview our virtual selection process in January, will be notified on December 5th, 2024. So you'll be notified before the holiday season. And then we will commence the virtual writing assessment prior to the interviews on January 6th. Again, it is a virtual assessment there, and it is human proctored via our systems. Then between January 21st to the 24th, 2025, we'll have interviews in our group dynamic exercise during that piece. And on the final day, the panel will meet to deliberate and choose the 30 2025 Payne Fellows, from which, of course, our staff will be sending the notifications once we have the notification from the panels. Orientation at Howard University, again, will begin in late May 2025. All of our fellows will then, after convene for their congressional internship and begin their professional development activities during the evening for summer 2025. As a reminder, Payne Fellows do their overseas internship in between their first and second year of graduate school. So you'll do your congressional internship first, go to start your first year of graduate school, and then the summer in between your first and second year, you will go overseas to a U.S. Embassy or USAID mission and get that first look, first touch there. Summer 2027 is when the fellows will onboard as USAID Foreign Service Officers, again, 2 years out. So if you're coming in as a 2025 fellow, you're applying for this cohort. 2027 is when the fellows onboard with USAID's Foreign Service. All right, I know I'm going to take a second here and pause for some questions because I did see some come into the Q&A. There is one here. I've been out of school for a couple of years and currently working. Is it okay to get a letter of recommendation from your supervisors instead? That is a great question, and thank you for asking. It is absolutely okay. If you are not a current student or a more recent grad who has contact information for faculty that may write them good letters of recommendation there, it is absolutely fine to get your letters of recommendation from a current supervisor or again someone that you work with within your community via volunteering, etc. So yes, that is a-okay. What's important to note there though is that you really want to be sure that even if it is your supervisor, that they can speak to two things: your preparedness for graduate school, and the second, your interest in international development. Okay. So that will be important to note there. Okay, there's another question that came through in the chat here. Question is, have you had students attend a master's program that runs on a quarter system, and has this impacted their summer service period at all? Okay, and let me, thank you for that question, Kyle. And yes, there are some programs where our students, they're on quarter systems. So where some schools may end their spring semester, let's say like end of April or early May, these students are typically going until like June. And dependent upon, again, the program, et cetera, we've always worked with our fellows through those pieces there. Especially when it comes to the overseas internship, most departures for the overseas internship take place in like mid-June, late June, anyway, and taking into account some of the other fellows in their quarter systems, depending upon the institutions that they've gone to. So yes, and especially if we approve the academic program, if the backstop coordinators approve the academic program, there will be accommodations made for that piece because it's expected that you will be attending said program there. Thank you for that question, Kyle. Okay, there's a question here. What does the writing assessment entail? It is a virtual writing assessment, so it's a timed exercise where you will choose a prompt, choose an essay prompt, and we expect you to write to answer the prompt question. Again, it is proctored, it is timed, and the Payne Fellowship does have a separate independent writing panel that reviews the finalists' essays there. Okay. Okay. Another question that came through here, and I think that you guys are really good. Don't worry, the question slide is like 2 slides after this, so this is fine for us to take a moment. Okay, individuals who are more than likely to apply next year. Is the application open every year or only during certain times of the year? That is a great question. So we do expect the Payne Fellowship is an annual type of fellowship award, meaning we do expect to continue to take applications every year as permitted. The application typically opens in July. For this year, the 2025 cycle, we open July 19th. And again, we're closing October 24th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern. So what is that? 9:59 p.m. Mountain, 8 Pacific time, standard time there. So be sure, depending upon your time zones, that you're watching the clock. But yes, yeah, we do open every year around the July, mid to late July standpoint. Okay, so question here: if you've only taken 3 classes at community college and the letter grade is transferred over to my institution's undergrad transcript, would I still need the transcript from the community college? So that's a great question. And if on your home institution, so your current the institution where you're receiving your primary degree, your bachelor's degree, and or bachelor's of science, whatever have you, right? If on there it shows transferred from, let's say, United States of America Community College, right? Um, and then it has the grade A, B, C, and the credit hours, etc. You're fine. We will not need the transcript from United States, community college in that event. If on on your new transcript, right, your home institution transcript, if it only reflects transferred and then the name of the institution, we absolutely need the transcript. We want to see the grades. We want to see the letter grades, the hours, the credit hours of the program there. Same thing again for those who have done study abroad. Make sure if your grades from your study abroad semester, term, even if it was, the summer, etc. If how I view it is, rule of thumb, if you've taken 3 or more credit hours and it is not on your transcript, and there could be a question about, a grade that a selection panel member may have, because again, it is the panel that takes a holistic approach in reviewing the application and reviewing all the documents that you supply to us to make their best determination for those selected as finalists. And then once selected as finalists, again, those selected as the fellows there. So how I view it is, if the letter grades are not on the transcript, order the transcript, send it into Payne Fellowship as well. Just note on the application, it's not like it's going to give you a multi field with regards to like upload, like transcript uploads, and you can upload one, two, three, no. You will, I think it's like one upload area essentially. You want to make sure that you're combining, I don't know, whatever software that you may find or use, but combine all your transcripts into one PDF, and then upload them to the application. It is the easiest way, it's the most efficient way, I can say, and it also helps answer, like if we do have questions, we can see all your transcripts in the one PDF, and then we can just reach out to you and request, hey, we need it from United States Community College, etc., versus trying to piecemeal all of these items together. So again, combined documents are better served with regards to your uploads. And for those of you who may not be aware, I will be doing an application technical review webinar this week. You can find the link on the paynefellows.org website, so you can register for the application technical review, where I'll actually be pulling up and we'll be walking through the respective sections of the actual application in the portal. And then talking about some troubleshooting things with regards to, be it letters of recommendations, et cetera. So highly advise that if you're an actual applicant at this stage as well. Last question here. If you're currently planning to go to law school in fall of 2025, would that make you ineligible for this fellowship? I can change things. Yes. Okay. So for if you are pursuing law or a medical degree, unfortunately, the Payne Fellowship program does not have any mechanisms at this time to support financially those programs. The Payne Fellowship supports graduate school for 2-year full-time, traditionally in-person master's degree program, because that is, you must have a master's to work within USAID's foreign service, not that Juris Doctorate, of course, right? It is an advanced degree, same thing with a medical degree, but the period is beyond the 2-year piece. Typically, the JD programs are 3 years, right? And then depending upon the medical program, you're looking at another 3 to 6 years, depending upon the scope, et cetera. So unfortunately not. However, if you already possess a Juris Doctorate, right, a JD, your law degree, or even if you are a medical doctor, right, and then you're like, well, I wanted to get a second master's in engineering, or wanted to get a second master's in business, right? And I am interested in working in the foreign service, and I want to go into contracting or X, Y, and Z, da 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 da. We are here to serve. We would more than absolutely love the application there. If that is the intent to get a second master's, again, must be 2-year full-time, traditionally in person, in an area of relevance to USAID's foreign service, and should not mimic or be closely aligned to what your first master's degree was, if that makes sense there. Okay. All right. I think I've answered on live all of the questions that came in through the Q&A. With that, we'll get back to the presentation. Again, I only have a couple more slides, and if any of you do have any questions, we can have a dialogue, and I'll invite you to speak and ask your question, or you can continue to drop them in via the Q&A feature in the webinar. Okay. Get this here. So speaking of graduate school, some of the common degrees that our Payne Fellows pursue to support their careers in administrative and technical areas, the backstops are public administration, policy, public health, business administration, international relations, global affairs, development, global human development, excuse me, engineering, environmental sciences, management, economics, agricultural economics, agriculture, education, contracting, urban planning, social work. I can go like there's a gamut. There's a very wide breadth of graduate degrees, again, dependent upon the career backstops that you're interested in, that you may pursue. Again, it's not like a one shoe fits all. I've seen many very, very, very interesting programs where, it might have been like a regional studies, but a concentration in like, conflict resolution and human trafficking. And, like, it's like, whoa, wait a minute, how did we get there? And I didn't like, who would have thought? So don't think that it has to be a permanent type of program or um, or anything like that. It'll really, really just be making sure that the academic program that you are pursuing, right, is closely aligned with the competencies and the skill sets for your respective backstop. And again, if don't worry if you have not received the backstop resource in the chat there. Again, I'll be emailing to all of those registered participants after the call the backstop resource, which has the respective USAID provided backstop information that goes into detail regarding the respective career backstops that our Payne Fellows typically declare. See here. So before I leave you and get back to your questions, we have a couple of tips for preparing competitive applications. First and foremost, especially if you are applying to other nationally competitive diplomatic fellowship programs, be sure to review the application requirements and to ensure your eligibility and be prepared to apply. Cannot stress this enough. We do require that you possess U.S. citizenship. It is not for permanent residents. You must possess full U.S. citizenship by the application deadline, which is October 24th by 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Next, explaining in a statement of interest. Statement of interest is extremely important, your personal statement there, the motivations for applying and identifying the background, experiences, and skills for in order to be a successful Foreign Service Officer, an FSO. And please remember that you are applying to the USAID Payne Fellowship Program. So again, your fellowship experience will culminate with employment for the U.S. Agency for International Development's Foreign Service. Okay, it is different than the Department of State's mission in their foreign service. Okay. Demonstrate your academic ability and your rigor in studies. We do give you sections in the application to discuss your accolades, to speak to your honors and the rigor of some of your courseworks or awards given in courses, etc. Obtain strong letters of recommendation. Cannot stress this enough. Don't go for a name grab, excuse me. So if you know the dean and the dean knows you, and yeah, he may have heard that you're applying to the Payne Fellowship and he knows it's going to look good for the school, but you know the dean, right? You've taken the course, but you don't have a relationship with the dean. Don't just have the dean write you a letter of recommendation for dean's sake, if that makes sense. It's very important that you obtain strong letters of recommendation and that those individuals can speak to your character, your interests, your preparedness for graduate school, your interests in USAID or development work. It should speak to you. It should be as if they know you. They should know you. So that I'll leave that there. Demonstrate the need for financial assistance for graduate school. Again, it is an absolute requirement. This is a need-based type of fellowship program, so we do have the financial section, which is a required section, is an absolute requirement section for you to upload your FAFSA, either your student aid report for those who have the older version for the current year, or your FAFSA financial aid summary, which is the newer version of updated and newer version of the student aid report. Those two pieces must be uploaded, and what also must be included is your 400-word statement of financial need. Again, conveying your need for support for graduate school, your ability and plans to pay for it independently of the fellowship program, what had led you what let me see, barriers that you might have experienced and undergrad or present in your life, et cetera, financial hardships, et cetera, there. Again, conveying what the numbers can't tell, um, is an absolute requirement, the statement of financial need there, including all relevant extracurricular, community volunteer experiences. Be sure to highlight your leadership role. Again, there's a section in the application where you can brag about yourself. And that's going back to listing the relevant college professional courses, your honors, your awards and accolades there. Can't stress it enough. It's, I understand sometimes in haste we may apply for something, right? And then may not have others review it for a program such as this. And if you are absolutely serious and intentional about working for USAID, because again, the fellowship culminates in employment with USAID in their foreign service, I will say get a couple sets of eyes to go over your application prior to submission if you have not already done so. It could never hurt to have 2 to 3 people read your personal statement, your statement of financial need. Not saying you have to share your PII information from your financial information with them, but um, it never hurts to have those eyes look at the pieces there. If you're fortunate enough to be at an institution where you have a fellowship advisor or office or scholarship office, et cetera, utilize the resources. Let them know that you're applying to USAID's Payne Fellowship program. It's nationally competitive, and before you submit, before the application deadline of October 24th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, that you want someone to review your materials and review your submission. Okay. Please note that Payne staff cannot do one-on-ones with you to review your submissions. The information that we give is general and to the public. But I do know that if you schedule time with the development diplomats in residence, be it if you're on the West Coast, Midwest, the West Coast there, or the East and the South. We have an East Coast DDIR there. They would be more than willing to sit with you, have a conversation with you, and assist where they can with regards to reviewing some of your materials. Um, okay, I think what I'm going to do now, I did see some questions pop in, and I would like to get to them. Sorry, let me just pull them up. Okay. All right. So, here we go here. Um, how should we prioritize the travel history or country list? Um, I don't think understand the question. So we do ask like where you've been in the application, but it'd be how you prioritize it, right? List as you are. Again, it's a holistic approach that is taken to it there. It's not um, let me see, like a emphasis or an expectation that all applicants must have, been internationally or anything like that. And especially considering the days and times of which we live, where COVID-19, the pandemic, had shut down the world. And so some engagement in those communities, be it internationally, right? Those experiences were cut short for a lot of individuals. So you can prioritize it with regards to your country list as you see fit. When our fellows are awarded the fellowship, we do, and our colleagues at USAID, we do, because all Payne Fellows are required to receive TS clearance. Um, we do work with them with regards to submitting the documentation and materials needed. Um, to begin the clearance process there, in which state may request, additional information regarding your travel history, et cetera. But that is a session that is given directly with our colleagues at USAID, where we'll go into depth for the awarded fellows, that process and what the expectation is there. Hopefully that answers your question, Margaret. Um, Okay, a unique question here in terms of financial need. If people who apply have a mortgage or own a home, but still wish to go back to school and join the foreign service, would this disqualify them? I'm wondering, just in case those who review The applications would see homeowner as someone who is financially steady, which isn't always the case. That is a very good question, and yes, it is a very unique question. Um, no, one would also say, as a homeowner myself, that those who own a home, regardless of how the economy appears to be, are also severely in need of assistance. That no, but in full respect, the it, it, the selection panel again, and especially with regards to the financial section, right? So to really be about how you convey your case. One could say that, oh, because you have a house that you are more financially steady, et cetera. But those experiences, or just because you have a house doesn't mean that, that is the situation, right? It could have been inherited, it could have been this, it could, whatever the terms pieces there. It would not disqualify them. The financial section is not and this is for everyone, right? There's no disqualifier for like a section because you are this, we have to disqualify you. Does that make sense across any of it? So I would say you can make your case of you having unique financial need for the support for this piece because of your situation, right? So it's really again about, and this is where, and this is why we don't just ask for the FAFSA, right? Because where FAFSA may report one thing and show the homeowner status or the cause because you own a house, right? I don't know how it reports one in the financial aid summary or student aid report, but as an asset, right? Monetary asset, right? And especially if there's, equity on said property. Um, that you may be more well off or inclined to be able to support yourself for graduate school, right? So that's where the financial need statement, that 400-word statement, is conveying what the numbers can't tell, right? We understand that some of you, many of you, may be coming from the support of families, right? Who Where your parents may be well off, or a parent may be well off, but you're like one of three kids and all of you are in college at the same time, or your parents are saying, hey, we did it for undergrad, we don't have anything for you for graduate school, et cetera. So the numbers are the numbers, but being sure to communicate in the the statement of financial need. Again, there is no disqualifier because you own a house or you have owned a house, or even if because you had a bankruptcy or any things like that, you received an inheritance from grandma, there's no disqualifiers. We understand that everyone's situation is unique and can be very different, but it's important for you to best communicate your express need to us. And I really hope that answers your question, because that was a really good question. Um, okay, another one here. Are there any benefits to applying to graduate programs before the application? Does it ask what schools you plan or have already applied to? Give me one second here. See what happens when I don't take a sip of water every 30 seconds, right? So um, yes, you should be in full transparency. I'll go back to the timeline. Oh, here we go. The selections timeline. So if you're applying and you're looking for the award for the Payne Fellowship, you should be also looking at graduate programs as well, and be applying to graduate school. Our fellows apply to the graduate fellowship program and to graduate school separately. This is not a one and done type of process. You submit here, you get the fellowship, and then next thing you know, your pieces are sent to all of our graduate program partners. No, you must get into graduate school on your own merits, et cetera. So we always advise that you should be looking at graduate programs now, and applying to graduate school now, and especially dependent upon the program or your ideal school or the school that you're looking at, right? They have their own deadlines. Okay. You must meet the school's deadlines. There will be nothing that your fellowship can do on your behalf if you're awarded the fellowship and you didn't meet Columbia's deadline or UT Austin's deadline, for the graduate program. You will have to apply somewhere else where the deadline is open, right? And in that capacity. So again, be sure that you are looking at the graduate programs now. And again, that's why it's very important that you understand the possible or the potential career backstop within USAID that you may be interested in. So, and again, it's not that I use this example all the time. Like our business students tend to go into like executive officers or economists or financial management officers, et cetera, because they're business students, right? But that doesn't mean that if said business student wanted to go into like education, and you can do that as well. But your degree, your graduate school degree, will have to be in that sphere to be approved by the education backstop coordinators, if your intention is to be an education officer. Does that make sense? So again, the resource will be coming after we wrap the webinar this evening. So I'll email it again to all of the registered attendees. And you'll have the backstop resource, which is also available, I forgot to mention, for download via the paynefellows.org website. On the application, though, we do ask for the schools, the graduate programs, or I think it's the schools. You may be able to enter like the program name if need be. I gotta check that out. But you are able to enter like up to like 2 or 3 schools which you're applying for. And it doesn't mean that those are the 3 schools that you have to go to if you're awarded the fellowship. Excuse me, it's just us gauging where the applicants are applying, et cetera, and what programs that they're looking at. There's been plenty of times where individuals have listed 3 schools on the application, but didn't really apply or start really looking at graduate programs until like December time. And most graduate programs, the deadlines are like January, February, March, like around that time. So they didn't really apply to the programs that they were intentionally going to go to until that time. So once they went awarded the fellowship, they just provided us the updated information with regards to the programs that they've applied to. So yeah, no worries there. Do we base our financial aid letter based off our most recent taxes filed or in general? So that will be a question for FAFSA. When you go in there and you start that process, they will, I think there's like an option to port over from the IRS, et cetera, and they do their window magic. What we ask for is the most current FAFSA financial aid summary report or student aid report. So what is this? This is 24-25 academic year, 2020 academic year 2024-2025. So that's the reports that we're accepting for you to upload to the Payne application. If it is your undergraduate letter that no, I think this is the FAFSA because it said most recent tax year. Yeah. So yeah, that's the FAFSA. So yeah, it would depend upon when you start that process and at studentaid.gov, what they ask you for. If you are porting over from the IRS, I think it uses the most recent, the last filed year. There we go. So that should be 2023 filing year for that. All right, awesome. I'm very glad that that my response has helped. I do see a hand raised here. Okay, Tina, I'll allow you to speak if you have your question.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't want to type the question. Is there a list of schools that the Payne Fellowship allows, or can you apply to any school?
Yes, it's a great question. Go ahead, meet you back there. So Payne Fellows can take their funding to any US-based institution. So you can take the funding to state schools, the biggest state school, the smallest state schools, private institutions, et cetera, as long as it is a fully accredited US-based institution. Okay, this is a federal program. You are receiving US federal funds. So it must be paid, you must be invoiced for your tuition and mandatory fees from a US-based institution on your behalf. There we have a list of graduate program partners, some 20 plus schools there that have agreed to offer additional supplemental funding to Payne Fellows who are admitted to their academic programs. However, it is not exclusive. Again, we've gotten and we tend to get additional um, partnerships, because if there's a school that's not on the list and you're looking at and applying to, et cetera, it makes it way more palatable and easier for me and my colleagues and I to reach out to the institution or the academic program and introduce ourselves and see if they would be willing to come on as a graduate program partner now that a Payne Fellow has has applied and been admitted, right? And that has happened several times as well, where we were able to bring schools on because they weren't originally on the list, and our fellows, wanted to go to said program and inquired about if they would be willing to come on as a partner through our staff, et cetera. So, yeah, you can take the funding pretty much anywhere. The most important piece is the academic program being again that 2-year full-time, traditionally in person in an area of relevance to USAID's foreign service. And again, as a reminder, for our Payne Fellows, you're required to get your academic programs approved by the USAID backstop coordinators. So once you're awarded the fellowship, we'll do a whole bunch of virtual onboarding because we understand that you're all over the world or country, et cetera. Some of you finishing school, whatever have you. We'll do all of that, and then we'll work with you on getting the information like your acceptance letters and things like that from the institution that you've applied to, and getting it over to USAID backstop coordinators who will review the programs, make sure that the competencies and the expectations, et cetera, are a good fit for said backstop. So if you're an engineering major, I'm sorry, a master's of public public administration, I don't think it's going to do it for the engineering backstop. But if you'd like to be a program officer, I think it'd be a better fit. So, just making sure that the program is best aligned, I would say. Okay. All right. I see there was another couple of questions here. How can we file? With the current issues happening with FAFSA, how can we file if we have been out of school for a while? Easy. It's a 1-2. You will go to studentaid.gov, and you will complete the federal application for financial aid. And the let me see. So the financial aid piece is based off of the FAFSA, not taxes, or both. Just one clarification. The FAFSA requires, I believe it requires, your tax information, et cetera. And again, I can't speak to the student aid government. What I do know, what I am saying though, is that the document that is generated from your FAFSA, be it the financial aid summary, or the older version, what it was called in the past, the student aid report. Those are the items that are absolutely required to be uploaded to your Payne application there. So I can't speak to how they determine, the tax piece, but anybody who is looking to apply to graduate school, or school in general, right, a U.S. based institution, right, and receive federal funds, right? As a U.S. citizen, you are entitled to, right? Especially if you have not exhausted them all. You have to complete the FAFSA. And because you're applying to the graduate fellowship, right, and you'll be looking to start graduate school next year, you will need to complete this FAFSA form. So even if you've been out of school for 10 plus years, if you're looking to apply to graduate school, you start at studentaid.gov and get your piece there. It's free. It doesn't, doesn't do a credit pull or anything like that. So it is just an assessment of where you stand financially and how much aid can be applicable for what you're looking to do, essentially. And so that's what our selection panel requires. That is again a required upload for the piece there. Um, Okay, so the financial aid piece is based off FAFSA and not taxes or both. The financial aid piece, the section is based off of your FAFSA. Usually your response is given from your the older student aid report. And okay, so for clarification, if you have the older student aid report, like the last academic year, is acceptable. Or I think it was they did the switch and they did it in a weird time. Like in July, I think the application was already open for like a week or two before it switched over to the financial aid summary or something like that. So there are some who really actually have the student aid report, and on the student aid report, it actually has way more detailed information. So the questions of those with the older student aid report match more closely with our financial aid section on the application. Those most who have the newer financial aid summary report, where it's still FAFSA as it ported over from IRS, et cetera, if you did that option, et cetera. The questions from the generated financial aid summary report may not match 9 times out of 10 the Payne Fellowship questions now because of the new changes in the updates with FAFSA, right? So our ask of applicants is to answer the questions still on the financial aid section, because I believe some all the asterisk questions, excuse me, all of the asterisk questions in that financial aid section must be answered to the best of your ability. Where you port said information from, if it's an older SAR, et cetera, we as staff or the selection panel, we can advise you, oh, this is where you have to get it from X, Y, and Z. What I can tell you is that is for you to answer those questions, because only you would be able to find, you know, if it asks, your household income or something, or total assets, et cetera, et cetera. Only you would be able to essentially find that piece. Um, so yes, I think that's a very good point there. Um, for clarification. So again, if you're using the older financial aid student aid report, the questions on the financial aid section of the Payne application should ideally match there, and you were just porting the numbers that the FAFSA SAR had given you. If you're on the newer version, you will have to answer the asterisk questions, again, the required questions with the little red star on the financial section to the best of your ability, and then still upload your FAFSA financial aid summary. Mhm. And thank you for that question. Can you be a Coverdale Fellow along with a Payne Fellow? I'm sorry, I am not familiar with that fellowship program. Here's the thing with other opportunities, right? Or fellowship opportunities, right? Your other fellowship opportunity cannot have requirements that compete with the Payne Fellowship requirements, expectations, and opportunities. Reasons why is because when our fellows are awarded the fellowship, it's again, you get the fellowship, you get the job, right? You're signing an employment contract um, with the U.S. Agency for International Development, and then you're also signing an agreement with Howard University with regards to the expectations of the graduate fellowship component. So you're contractually obligated to do these things on this timeline. Um, Other fellowships may have, oh, you have to do a week in such and such during the summer. And if that's the case, then you cannot do that other the other fellowship. So just want to make that very clear to everyone. If there are other opportunities, now our fellows have received fellowships at their graduate schools, right? And they've had to do things, but it's during the academic year, and it doesn't compete with their the Payne Fellowship, right, or their contract and their agreement piece with the agency with regards to our requirements and things like that on this side, and especially where if that other opportunity, i.e., in this case, the Coverdale Fellowship, there, if they have like travel or things like that, and especially international travel, um, Sets the requirements. Yeah, it would really depend on yeah, it would absolutely depend upon the requirements of the piece. But if the requirements compete or have stipulations to where, because you are a Coverdell fellow, that you have to do X amount of hours here, and it extends into summer or professional development, etc. Yeah, it will be an issue for the larger Payne Fellowship. We don't offer many deferrals as well, although it wasn't a question, but deferring the Payne Fellowship has only been given for several reasons. One is if you received a Fulbright ETA for 1 year, and it's a 1 year max. Two, if you are military or military spouse and your spouse has commitments, or you have commitments, again, 1 year max. And the third being extenuating circumstances with regards to things that are outside of your control, again, extenuating circumstances. So medical, death, etc. Not death of you, but death, immediate family, spouse, child, etc. All right. Thank you for the clarification there. Anonymous attendee, that's what it shows as. All right. Um, Go back here, tips. I know we've passed time, but I just wanted to show you quickly the journey of a Payne Fellow. Here we have our 2024 Payne Fellows, and you can see the various backgrounds for our cohort. Here we have quite a few as program officers in the 2024 cohort, but we have a contracting executive officer, health and nutrition environment officer as well. And you can see the schools that they're going to: SEPA, Columbia, Yale, Harvard, Johns Hopkins, SAIS, etc. Um, Lastly, again, can't stress this enough. Upon completion of graduate studies, our Payne Fellows are inducted into USAID's Foreign Service. Our fellows become full-fledged employees of the USAID Foreign Service and have a 5-year service obligation to the agency. So again, if you get the fellowship, you get the job. Your next 7 years, you know what you're doing. 2 years, you'll be doing graduate school, and then the next 5 years, you will be working as a foreign service officer in USAID's foreign service. Um, with that, I'll stop as we've reached the end of our presentation to see if there are any additional questions, comments, or concerns about any of the information that has been shared. Also, just to again remind you, please visit our website, paynefellows.org. On there, you should be able to get the registration link for the next session, which is the application technical assistance webinar, where I'll be walking through the respective application components there, answering some questions, and providing some tips and tricks, I guess, if you will. Okay. I see one has come into the Q&A. Yes, absolutely. I will give you, yes, I do have um, an email address. First and foremost, I do monitor the Payne Fellows, myself and our senior program manager. We monitor the Payne Fellows at howard.edu. So you can direct your questions straight there. And again, either myself or our senior program manager, Mr. King Floor Bird, will give you a response. Otherwise, I'm going to answer this question, and then I'm going to type this answer in here. And this is my email address, everyone. I'm typing this in as response to the question regarding direct questions. There you go. And then you can email me directly there if you have any direct questions, or you want to schedule a one-on-one in advance of the application close. But thank you all so much for your time, for your patience, for your grace, for your questions, which were absolutely phenomenal. Some of them I'm going to be adding to my FAQ sheet build out, especially the one about, the house home ownership and things. That's a first first. Thank you for that. But thank you all again so much. And please give me about 2 hours. It is now 7:38 Eastern, 7, 8, 9, 10. So around 10, my Pacific folks, for those on the West Coast, or 9, I'll be, you should have that email from me with regards to the backstop resources if you couldn't download it from the chat here on the piece. And again, it is also, you can find that on paynefellows.org. In the section regarding USAID, we have a like about, and then it speaks to USAID, and then it has all the career backstops. We also have it there where you can quickly access and download the resource. But I will be sending it to all the registered attendees. Thank you all so much, and have a wonderful rest of your evening. Okay. Oh, is there? Yes.